Okay, our NASCAR coverage is back on Proline TV for another Tuesday as we get ready for another road course at Sonoma following a very crazy weekend in San Diego. CJ Radune joining me once again. RotoWire.com. How's it going, CJ?
It is going well. Back for back-to-back road course races, it seems.
Yeah. I guess that's like, is that the only time we've had that this year? Back-to-back, right?
This year, yes, definitely.
Yeah, it definitely screws up the momentum. But after that, we will have Chicagoland and Atlanta in back-to-back. So that's good. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks. I tell you, I don't even know how to explain, and I'm not even sure a lot of the drivers know or crew chiefs know just yet how to explain what it took to win that race on Sunday, because it just seemed like, I don't know, I'm not sure anybody figured anything out because Chevy was like the dominant car on both days and didn't win. And once again, Toyota found a way to win. And Toyota, I don't know what the stats were, but Toyota, I'm pretty sure they had like nobody in the top 10 in qualifying. They weren't very fast in practice. And matter of fact, when I was doing the show on Saturday, I was looking over some of the long shots and I said, hey, you know what? Based on the fact that Corey Heim started 13th and had a top 10 practice run, I said, he wouldn't be a bad long shot either, but hey, he's driving a Toyota and they haven't done anything. But I don't know what to explain it. Maybe Toyota's got something going on that everybody else hasn't figured out. And, they're sitting behind closed doors laughing at everybody. But I don't know. You tell me. Do you have any idea how to explain what happened on Sunday?
No, I don't. I think it was more just the length of the track and the way that you were able to manage tires, I think was the biggest difference to me. So it was very critical as to when you pitted, as to whether or not you would consolidate and keep track position up front. If you had older tires, you were going to slip back. You're going to fall behind. So if you pitted too early, you ended up being out of luck. If you pitted later, you were better off. And it took running fast. It was the track is definitely not something that NASCAR is used to racing on. Pretty bumpy, rough surface, wearing out those rear tires quite a bit. So basically, the longer that you were able to stay on, that was about the biggest difference that I found, was just basically the timing of the pit stops for everyone.
Because I couldn't figure out, like, early on. Now, look, I have no idea. Nobody has any idea what would have happened if SVG had been okay and would have been able to be in the race. Would he have just run away with the race and we would have just sat back and just said, oh, there's another SVG blowout, and nobody really cares that Corey Heim and Bubba Wallace are second and third? Maybe. It's possible. But this also proves what we were talking about last week when we said, wouldn't this be nice if SVG wasn't around? Because look at how much chaos there is, which I know everybody's going, hey, what a great race it was, because it was definitely, for a road course race, it was just, nobody could figure anything out. So, and that's usually a good thing compared to a boring blowout race. But I just wonder whether or not, was it the track or was it because SVG wasn't in contention? I think it was a combination of both. I hate to cop out like that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're going back next year. I don't think there's any reason at all why they won't go back next year. Because again, it's unless we see SVG blow someone out at one of these road courses, especially if it's just 1 for 1, just keep going back there until he blows out the field and go, oh, okay, it was just all right, that's it. But it seemed like everybody had a good time.
Yeah, from what I see, it was well regarded. I think a lot of it had to do with SVG going out early. That's why you got a lot of the mixture up front of drivers you wouldn't typically see in some close racing. I think it was really good racing between Heim and Reddick as well. And I'm not sure you get that without being teammates. I like that Reddick kind of gave him the spot back, ended up making some mistakes and falling further down the order, unfortunately. But overall, I thought it was good racing. I'm not the biggest fan of the track. I like the differences of it. Like, I like how the shape is different. I enjoyed the narrow bits versus the wide bits. I just think for me, too many laps on too long of a course. And I think that probably paid a lot into the pit strategy and why, if you pitted later, you seemed to be better off with fresher tires, that type of thing, because it's just a long way around that track, and the yellows, the caution periods seem to drag on forever. So clean that up, and I'd be happy to go back. But yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with SVG being out, but I don't also see why they wouldn't go back another year. However, next year, if they go back and there's no major crash that takes out Van Gisbergen, I bet you he dominates again. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was really, I mean, the whole Reddick Heim deal, I'm sorry, but it's, I can just imagine, maybe like Tony Stewart, maybe Tony Stewart's hanging out with, I don't know, you put anyone in there. And they see that happen, and they're probably, they might have turned the TV off at that point.
Probably.
I mean, because come on now, I mean, the announcers were calling it respect, but it was like, come on, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, it wasn't like, to me, he didn't do anything on purpose. So what if he, almost caused a wreck on accident? What are you giving up the spot for?
Yeah, and Heim's not even in the championship. We've talked about him this season.
Yes.
He stopped his, dominated the Truck Series last year, decided to do a part-time schedule this year in all three series. So he's driving some cup races, truck races, etc. And he's won in almost everything, I think, at this point, now that he's got a cup win as well. So on his way to being in that car full time next year. It'll be great to see him finally come to the series, because he's been fantastic down the lower steps of the ladder. But yeah, I mean, if you got a part-time teammate, one off, that's not part of the championship, you're in the championship, yeah, I would think you would go for it. But Reddick chose not to, and he even came up afterward in victory lane and talked to Heim and kind of apologized, etc. So very different from, like you said, somebody like a Tony Stewart, who would give everything to be out front and win. Yeah,
well, okay, we'll see if it comes
back. That's what
happens
when you have 5 wins already in 1 year.
Yeah, I guess so. It's funny, one of the announcers said something too about Reddick. They call, I don't know when the time of the race was, but he called Tyler Reddick a superstar. And I'm like, wait a second here. He goes back and says, because of the last couple of years. And I go, wait a second here. Tyler Reddick, first of all, hardly anybody knew who Tyler Reddick was unless you were a diehard NASCAR fan until this year. He has never been anything close to this. And it just started. Tyler Reddick, and even this year, I mean, Tyler Reddick is not a superstar. Superstars win championships, and they usually do it multiple times. So stop. I mean, some of these ways that these guys just kiss their ass all the time, and it's just, they have to look. I'm not gonna criticize the prime guys because they do a so much better job than Fox and so forth. But at the end of the race, I think there was the battle with Heim, which really wasn't a battle, but it was I think it was because it was going on with Reddick even for a while. And then after that, it was only a few more laps, which, like you said, because every lap lasted, it seemed like 10 minutes. It was like, there just seemed to be a moment where not a whole lot different was being said. And I couldn't blame them, because what else are you going to say? There's basically just one or two drivers out there, and that's it. And there's nothing else going on. And the laps take so long to finish. And there's nothing else that's really just happening, that's the part of the race that just seemed to be a little bit boring. the end of the race should be the most exciting part. And yet the end of the race, even though there was a battle with Reddick and Heim, it seemed very boring. Even the initial battle with Reddick, which was intense we understand the reasons, but it just seemed boring for a while to me.
Yeah, same. And I think, again, a lot of it to me had to do with just the length of the lap. I think I can see having 75 laps because you end up getting the tire wear and you have fall off and people have to deal with things, not great situations for longer periods of time, which make for better racing. So I get that. But a 3.4 mile track street course that is slow to begin with, it seemed like I remember the start of the race sitting around thinking for a while, like they've got to be on multiple laps and they're still on lap 1. And like it's going to be like this for the next 4 hours or something. Just too long for me, too long of a lap.
What was the deal with 75 laps?
It was crazy.
Who came up with that idea?
No idea. Significantly longer than any other road course race that we've had.
All right. So that was last week, and no major difference as far as taking a win for a chance for the playoffs, because it wasn't one of the non-playoff drivers that's trying to win a spot into the playoffs. So that the win part just kind of goes awry. But now we have Sonoma, and an SVG last week by race day was minus 450. That means there was an awful lot of money between our show last week and race day that went on SVG, even starting at minus 150. And when I talked about it on Saturday, I was like, hey, man, anybody who bet on him on Tuesday, that was a bargain at minus 150. Minus 450. That was just crazy. So now, what do you think it starts off with this week, considering what happened last week?
Well, he crashed out. It wasn't his fault. He dominated at Sonoma last year. So I'm going to say negative 150 again. You got it.
Now, in my sports book, he's minus 225. But here he is minus 150. So we go right back to that number here. Actually, we used my sportsbook's number last week at minus 150. I forget what it was here. I don't remember if it was I know it was a little bit different, but I forget what the number was here at Draft Sharks. Anyway, so either way, I'm sure it'll get up to minus 225 at some point this week.
Yeah.
So once again, if you are into, and this is the good thing too about why it's always a good idea to have multiple sports books, and DraftKings is actually a good sports book, a secondary sports book to have, because their odds are so different that sometimes you can get a much better price on DraftKings, and sometimes you get a much better price on your sports book. So having two sports books is always a good idea. And so, all right, so SVG is the heavy favorite as expected. We see here it's the same two from last week, Zilich and Reddick, and Zilich just continues to be put into this position, even though whether it's his fault or not, he finished 37th last week, and on the season, his best finish is 14th place all year. That was at Coda. So here he's 8-1 with Reddick. And I really thought for a little bit that Reddick we were gonna pull out the win with Reddick, but it was really surprising to see what happened. By the way, what was the situation? Did Reddick have older tires or something like that? Like, what happened to him? How did he get passed by Corey Heim? And then was it the incident that he got into?
Yeah, it was mistakes. I can't remember if he bounced off the wall or if he slid or something and then hit the wall. Something made him go offline. He ended up bouncing off the wall, so he lost ground. Heim was able to catch him. And then Heim, was on his bumper and just pushed him into a mistake. And then they started racing with one another. And I suspect, I don't know that it's been confirmed, but I suspect the contact between the pair of them ended up cutting his tire, because it wasn't long after that Reddick was out.
Yeah, Reddick is actually, even though he's got back-to-back top 10s at Sonoma, there are some warning signs here. That is the fact that he was first at Coda, 5th at Watkins Glen, and 25th last week. So he's going the opposite direction. He also has an average starting position of 5.4 at Sonoma and an average finish of 20.2. He's only gained in one race out of 5. And that was last year when he started 6th and he finished. I think he started, what was it? I think he started 6th and finished 8th, or vice versa, I mean. But anyway, the fact is that he has not been really good in fantasy. He sets himself up nicely. And even though he had back-to-back top 10s and is a good road course driver, there's just something about how things have gone for him lately that I just feel like, especially just last week. I mean, like 2 months ago, Tyler Reddick would have ran away from Corey Heim. So this is what happens during the course of a season. This is why you don't want to peak too early. And I think Reddick's going through one of those potential slides that every driver deals with during the season. So I'm going to try to look for someone else, because again, trying to take Shane at -150, it just doesn't seem like it makes much sense.
Yeah, out of this bunch, though, he's the one that I would go with because of the domination last year. Like I said, at San Diego, it wasn't his fault, and he likely would have gone on to dominate. He had pole. He was leading. It was among the top 3. The short while that he was out there, it was only like 12 laps, but it felt like over an hour that he was racing before he ended up getting taken out. Tyler Reddick is a great road course driver, but Sonoma is just a different track. And Tyler Reddick has shown at Sonoma that he can get the 1 lap speed. He started on the front row twice, 2 top 10s in the last 2 races at the track. And one of those, he led 35 laps, but I don't think Shane Van Gisbergen was in that race. So, you got to go with SVG here, even though the odds are bad. We'll see it in another week, whether Reddick's still slumping. He's still, top 10 caliber, top 5 pretty much every week. But you're right. He's had a couple of off weeks here, and probably should have driven away from Heim. So we'll see how that affects him this week. I would just avoid him for multiple reasons. Just, for me, it happens to be this track versus his current trajectory. Yeah,
I think we're looking at where if you take it, like in our system where we have 60, 40, 10, I think if you take Shane at -150, I basically think which all you're doing is you're just getting your money back.
Yep.
For the week. So, which, I mean, I get, look, that it's better than losing $100. But we are up significantly, so we can take the chance if we want to. All right. Next group. And as far as these 3 are concerned, now Kyle Larson, he continues to kind of get closer, and he's got more top 5s. He's got 3 straight coming into Sonoma. He has now 2 top 5s out of 3 on the road and street courses here so far this year. But he also has, he's got the 2 wins. But if you look at his history at Sonoma, he has really, in 11 career races, he has pretty much only 2 good races. Both of those were wins. The other races, this is as bad as I've seen it actually in fantasy. In his 11 starts, and I'm going to talk about all 11 starts. In his 11 starts, he's -116 positions. So he's got an average start of 4.5 with 5 straight poles from 2017 to 2022. And that'll hurt your fantasy if you're not winning. And his average finish is 15.0, even though he's won twice in the last 5 races. So, yeah, it's basically what you're saying is, all right, go out and get me a win, and I'm okay. But if you don't get me a win, it's not a good deal fantasy-wise. So it's a risk. Ryan Blaney, meanwhile, continues to be on a really nice run, 11th or better in 7 straight starts. And coincidentally or not, he's been in the top 11 in all 3 of these road races this year. So there was the time. I mean, honestly, if you take out the when we're going to pit and that kind of stuff in the race on Sunday, I thought Ryan Blaney had the fastest car. I mean, I was like, he was the only driver that on 2 separate occasions started taking a big lead. But I mean, I don't know again what happened to them and their strategy, because it wasn't very good. And they did make it back to the top 10 at least. And then McDowell seems like a really nice play, because he's got 3 top 10s on the roads this year. And he's also a very good fantasy play. In next gen at Sonoma, his average start is 8.5, which is really good. And his average finish is better. It's 4.0 with 4 top 10s, 3 top 5s, and a runner up. So all 3 of these drivers have something decent go along with them. And Blaney and McDowell just have a little bit better odds.
Yeah, I like the way that Kyle Larson is going right now. He's starting to head the right direction, starting to be more competitive. So we'll see if that's able to continue. It looks like Chevrolet Hendrick in particular is being able to catch the Toyotas and Joe Gibbs Racing in 23XI. So we'll see what Larson's able to do. But like you said, at Sonoma, it's been very much hit or miss. There have only been 2 races out of his 11 that he's finished better than he started. He did win 1 from pole. He's got the 2 wins, like you said. But overall, I think Ryan Blaney is racing better on the road courses this year. The Fords are still far behind both Chevrolet and Toyota. So I think it's going to take some luck in addition to execution for Blaney to get up there. But if there's any Ford out there that is maximizing what they have available to them, it is absolutely Ryan Blaney right now. So being able to hold 3rd place in the points for as long as he has and not really being challenged for it is just incredible. And like you said, it's all down to him continually finishing 11th or better, which is just an impressive run for him. He's got 5 top 10s at Sonoma. Michael McDowell's got 4 top 10s at Sonoma, 4 in a row, as a matter of fact. And Michael McDowell looked exceptional last week. He's looked really good on the road courses since the next generation car has come. He's won on a road course in the next gen era. No reason why Michael McDowell this week wouldn't be a must play, especially at those odds. I think those are fantastic odds for him this week.
Okay, next group. Let's get them all in here if we can. Okay. So we have 20s and 22s here with Gibbs and Briscoe starting off Toyotas. Just like we said last week with Gibbs, just don't really feel that, sort of like Reddick said, Gibbs is maybe even more so, where it just feels like he's in a little mini slide right now. He's got a 15.5 average over his last 4 races. So it's just kind of happening where everything is not working. And you look at his career here, average start 7.3, average finish 20.7. So he's a negative 40 position-wise at Sonoma, even though he has 2 top 5s this year on the roadies. Then you have Briscoe, and you just don't know what you can get with Briscoe, because it's like we need more years with Gibbs to kind of feel him out, because he's had these just one-offs because he started last year, and some of them were good, and yet he doesn't follow that up, and vice versa. He was 2nd last year in this race from the 2nd position. The previous 4 trips to Sonoma, he didn't have a top 10 and averaged 23rd place. So that wasn't very good, but last year was a different year. And he's driving a Toyota, but he is also going in the opposite direction when it comes to his results lately. So is not peaking like he almost looked like he was about to grab a win, and now he's kind of slid back again. But I just wonder at this point with these Toyotas, the way they're going, I just wonder whether I should just bet Toyotas and just until they lose, just put all of my picks in Toyotas and try and spread them out too, because you can't take them all. But I don't know if Briscoe and Gibbs would be those Toyotas, to tell you the truth. Byron, I mean, forget about him right now. And he has nothing to show for it at Sonoma either. So he's a hard pass. But Chris Buescher, he might be one of the better sleepers. He's actually 28-1 at my sports book, 22-1 here, and he's trending in the right direction over his last 3 races, which is a really good sign. Actually, if you look at it, it's really been trending in the last 5 races, but the last 3 races, they're all top 10s. And overall, if you look to, I mean, I'm talking about his history at Sonoma, excuse me. So his history at Sonoma, you're looking at a nice little trend heading in the right direction. The road courses, we know he's good on them. He's coming off a 6th place finish last week. And at Sonoma, he's got an average start in next gen of 12.5. He's got an average finish of 6.2, where he's gained 25 positions. So he's a good fantasy play, and he's also, a good play overall. It's just that, we're all realizing that anybody you play is just a prayer out there that SVG doesn't win. But that's why, and we talked about this on Saturday too, that even if SVG goes ahead and you think he's going to win, he's going to dominate, well, you still have your contests, and you can put SVG in there, of course, and then you just got to build up, 5 additional drivers on your contests, and maybe that's the way to try to make something out of the week. So anyway, what do you think about these 4 drivers?
I had higher hopes. I agree with you on Gibbs. I had higher hopes on Briscoe's performance last week and just didn't show it. So I agree. I think he might be in a bit of a slide, whereas he was, it seemed like, on the cusp of being able to have a breakthrough and being able to join the winners list. I think that's a little bit further away than we expected, though. So not willing to choose him here. Byron has shown me nothing at Sonoma, has shown me very little this season and recently as well. So going to avoid him. So the one that I would go with for sure out of this pack would be Chris Buescher. He's got 3 top 5s out of the last 4 Sonoma starts. The 2024 race, he ended up leading 32 laps too. That's a ton of laps. It's only a 110 lap race, so he led almost 30% of the race there. So Chris Buescher is the one out of this group, hands down. I just think the other 3 need to show some races where they turn things around and are back up at the front again before I choose them.
All right, next group, and AJ. If you look at him, he has done a really nice job on these road courses, which is no surprise. 9th, 7th, and 5th. 5th last on Sunday. And he does not have a top 10 on any other track. So it's all been the road races for AJ. Chase is getting a very high 35, which I'm a little bit surprised about. Now, I know he hasn't had a good run at Sonoma lately. No top 5, excuse me. And he's also coming in not exactly on his game either. If you look at it, he's got no top 5 since his Texas win. That's 6 races. His average is 20.5 during those races, even though there's been a few races during that stretch where he's contended for wins. So it's not like he's not doing anything. He does have 1 top 10 on the road races this year. But the thing that I am looking at is I'm looking at a driver that's 35-1 that in his last 5 races at Sonoma has got an average start of 6.2 and an average finish of 4.4. And he's led 49 laps during those 5 races. I just think that is too good to pass up for a long shot at 35-1. Christopher Bell, until you hear that he's healthy and ready to go, I just think you're wasting your money. You know what happened last week? It was just a complete waste. Matter of fact, if he was healthy, he certainly wouldn't be 45-1. So, and this couldn't be happening at the worst time because he's just results-wise, even outside the road courses, haven't been very good lately. Even though if you think overall in his career, he's actually been good at Sonoma over the last several years, which is, again, why I think he should be a lot less than 45-1. He's actually 66-1 at my sports book. So I think most people believe he's not racing this week. And then you have Daniel Suarez, who's 50-1, and he has just one good race here, and that was his win in 2022. If you take out the win in 2022, he hasn't really done anything at this track, but you are getting 50-1.
Allmendinger is a good choice. Like you said, been doing really well in the road course races this season. Just got his first top 5 last week, so he's on the roll. Why not go with him at Sonoma, being a road course specialist and who knows this track really, really well. I'm actually surprised that Chase Elliott's getting more profitable odds than Allmendinger, to be honest with you, though, because Chase Elliott, like you said, has just been fantastic at Sonoma, 5th, 4th, and 3rd in his last 3 races at the track. So he's already got 2 wins this year. No reason why I wouldn't expect him to be in the top 5 again at Sonoma this week, too. Sonoma being a different track for Bell might be helpful for him, but take that as a fan. Don't take that as, fantasy or wagering advice, because he is still injured and who knows, it's a technical course. Who knows if he's going to be able to last through the whole thing. Even if he was to drive the whole thing, I think I'd still probably wait just because of him getting out of the car last week. We know he's hurt. It is a tough track. It's smoother certainly than San Diego, but I don't know that we're going to see the Christopher Bell that we would typically expect to see at Sonoma. If it was, he'd be toward the top of the list. I think we'd be talking about choosing him. And then, like you said, Daniel Suarez, just the 1 win, so no reason really to look his direction. Spire, great. So perhaps he'll better his average at this track, but I don't think he's going to be in position to win. So out of that bunch, Chase Elliott, number 1, AJ Allmendinger, number 2.
Okay. This group, we have Ross Chastain kicking things off. He is starting now to gain a little bit of positive momentum with back-to-back top 10s coming in, 7th on Sunday. And he has 4 top 10s out of 6 races at Sonoma. And he's getting a big number at 40-1, 55-1 at the sportsbook. So he may not be a bad idea. And we all know Ross at this point in the season, he has to continue like every race for the next 9 races pretty much have to be top 10s if he's going to and he's going to win a race or 2. So he has a lot of work to do. Hocevar, even though he led 4 laps on Sunday, which he had led 1 lap ever in his Cup career on road courses. So that's a good sign. He was good early, but then disappeared the rest of the race, basically. And then you've got Preece, who, like Blaney, was really impressive early in the race, was right up there, passing SVG at times, getting past, but he was battling early. And so that was a little bit of a surprise. But now you look at Preece, he's starting to slowly gain some momentum coming in, but he doesn't have a top 10 in his career at Sonoma, and he's never led a lap at Sonoma, but he's gained 35 spots in the last 4 races at Sonoma. So he becomes a good fantasy play, especially because he's going to be relatively cheap. And overall, though, you're still talking about a driver who hasn't had a top 10 since Bristol. And then you got Hamlin. And again, as you know about Hamlin, he was red hot before the road courses came on the schedule. And once again, it's going to be just a really academic type of situation for Hamlin this week. He's got a 31.2 average finish average over his 4 next-gen races here.
Yeah, damage limitation weeks, I think, for Hamlin. So definitely wouldn't go with him. 2 DNFs, actually, the last 3 Sonoma races for him as well. And he's just not ever really been known as a road course racer. I think he's won 1 perhaps in his career. So there are definitely other choices. I was impressed by both Hocevar and Preece last week. I was impressed with Hocevar's qualifying effort. I was impressed with Preece's racing effort. So from a fantasy perspective, I would definitely lean Ryan Preece's way, see if he can keep it going at Sonoma. He hasn't been bad at Sonoma either. Top 15, 2 of the last 3 Sonoma races for Ryan Preece. So with the momentum from last week, which was a really good showing, no reason he couldn't be top 15 again, if not top 10. Hocevar, always fun to watch, but I would put Preece over top of him. And then Ross Chastain, like you said, I just want to see him continue to keep that momentum going. Top 10s are a great step forward. Now he's got to take that even further and get into the top 5 and start showing that he can win a race. So this bunch, I wouldn't choose any from a wagering standpoint, but I would definitely consider putting Preece in my lineup from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah, I don't know where Chastain is going to be. He might be okay, salary cap wise. Hocevar, Hocevar surprisingly was I think he was on like a $7,000
It was, yeah.
driver last week.
Yep.
So that was surprisingly low. So if he has a good day on Saturday, then maybe he can have an even improved day on Sunday. So yeah, three drivers to definitely keep an eye on for fantasy on Sunday. Okay, now we have a couple of really good long shots here. These four. Bubba Wallace is sitting there at a big 90-1 at DraftKings. And this is what I was talking about because at Bovada, my sports book, he's 66-1. So I've already put money on Bubba at DraftKings. I just at 90-1, absolutely. We just talked about Toyotas, and I'm just looking for Toyotas, and I think Bubba is as good as a pick for a Toyota for a long shot, especially coming off a second and a third in his last three races overall. Third on Sunday, actually second on Sunday, and then you take a look also at the fact that he was pretty competitive at Coda with an 11th and second. Was second, of course, on Sunday. Sonoma hasn't been kind to Bubba, though. This has been a pretty tough track for Bubba. So I get that, but that's why you're getting a big number. He's never had a top 10, never led a lap, but I'm willing to roll the dice because it's such a big number. Zane Smith is also, it's interesting because DraftKings has him at 100-1, but Bovada has him at 66-1. So they've already started to give him a little bit of respect now, as Zane Smith finished fourth on Sunday, and he now has three top 10 in his last five races overall, including the fourth place finish on Sunday. He was 250-1 at this race last year, and his 3 laps led on Sunday was the first time he's ever led a lap on a road course. Austin Hill, meanwhile, had a good Saturday and then got involved in the wreck, unfortunately, but he was right up there when the wreck happened. So he may not be a bad idea at 90-1 for fantasy, especially. And then you've got Joey Logano, who, even though things have not gone Joey's way, no top 5 since Martinsville, he's been pretty good at Sonoma lately. 3 top 10s in the last 5. 2 of those are top 5s. He's led 25 laps during that time, and he so I don't think he's capable of winning. But I think if you're going to get, I don't know what his price is going to be, but if you get a good price and if he starts outside the top 15, he may not be a bad fantasy idea.
Yeah, I could see Joey Logano coming away with the top 10. He tends to do that at Sonoma. This isn't a terrible track for him. He's also not terrible on road courses in general. So, again, I probably would have put Denny Hamlin's odds lower than Joey Logano's, but Logano's is here because of the fact that he's just had a really poor season so far. Things just aren't going his way. Zane Smith, I don't know why he's 100-1. I think 60 probably a little bit more accurate. Just looking at this race last year, he qualified 12th. Yeah, he finished 27th, but he qualified inside the top 15, and that's been about what he's been capable of this year as well. So I don't see that changing coming into Sonoma. So I think here's a really good one. Austin Hill, we'll see. Pretty good job until he locked the brakes going into the return and the restart last week with that crash, unfortunately. But yeah, no reason not to go with Bubba Wallace. Toyota, teammate that's still running really well up at the front, a teammate that won last week as well. So Bubba Wallace finishing second, and that came from, remember, he lost a wheel in the first stage. He used the lucky dog twice in that race to get laps back. And then
that was another thing that was just crazy. How do you go down 2 laps in a road course race and wind up in second place?
Absolutely crazy. That team did everything right from a strategy perspective after they ended up getting behind. And like I said, timing of stops seemed to make all the difference in the world. And he just caught those brakes, which pushed him up there. So a lot of good momentum behind Bubba Wallace going into this race this weekend. His best finish at Sonoma is a 14th. I would expect that to be better this weekend.
Okay, and then some more long shots, and really trying to see which of these long shots, if any, I would be interested in. I probably, because he's driving a Toyota, I'd throw Riley Herbst into the equation. He was eighth on Sunday, and if you look at it, it's his best 4-race stretch on the season. He's got an average of 13.5 over the last 4 races. And again, he's driving a Toyota. So I'm looking for some Toyotas, especially the long shots. And John Hunter Nemechek looks a lot better than his teammate Eric Jones on the road courses, it seems. If you look at it, he's been top 17 in all 3, 10th at Watkins Glen. Jones hasn't done anything on the road courses, and both of them really struggled for the most part over the weekend, which was surprising again, but that was Toyota. That's why we thought things weren't going to go well for them. And on the year, John Hunter has actually also had 3 top 17s, including a 4th place finish a couple of starts ago. So he could be interesting in a fantasy perspective. Brad Keselowski, I don't think I've ever seen Brad Keselowski been in this kind of a rut before. He's had 3 34th place finishes in his last 4 races. He's averaging 35th in his last 4 races. But at Next Gen Sonoma, he's gained 53 positions in the 4 races. But he's just been so bad that I just can't touch him. And then I'd probably, that's it. Actually, I don't think there's anybody else I would look at as far as the long shots. I would probably just Riley Herbst. Maybe he's the only one that I would consider, and maybe John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, when we started talking long shots, Riley Herbst was the one that jumped to mind just because of what he was able to do last week. I do think Keselowski might be good from a fantasy perspective, but like you said, just absolutely nothing going his way right now either. So really tough to choose him. Herbst is really the one that kind of just stands out there just because of what he did last week. His Toyota hasn't been terrible on the road courses this season either, so he'd probably be the one of the bunch. Nemechek is able to get up there too, so I wouldn't completely throw him out of the mix. Not his best. These tracks are not his forte, not his best, but he's able to get up there, get some stage points at times, get inside the top 10. So you never know how things will break, but I still think Herbst would be the one that I would choose out of the bunch at the bottom here.
Okay, so it is time to go over our picks, and keep in mind that there are only 3 current drivers that you'll see on Sunday who have won at Sonoma. That's it, just 3. Kyle Larson, he's won it twice. Suarez and SVG. That's it. Those are the only 3 current drivers that you'll see on Sunday who've ever won at Sonoma. And for your qualifying statistics, if you look at the last 11 winners, the average starting position is 6.3 with 2 poles. So you definitely, as no surprise, is you want to start as close as you can up front. So you've got the first pick.
I do. And I think from a trend standpoint, I'm not sure that anybody has started outside of the top 15 and won for like a decade, maybe even longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, at Sonoma, definitely look for somebody that starts inside the top 10, but you can stretch your picks probably back to about row 7, I would say. Given that we are so much ahead, this is the last road course of the season, and it is my only chance to choose SVG on a road course this year. I think I have to go with him. So I'll hold my nose, and I will take SVG at -150 this week, only because it is my only chance to do so this season.
Okay. That's at least we got him. So
we do.
Okay. We got 5 opportunities now just in case something happens to SVG. But as we said last week, you got to just hope that you can take, one bad week. And it happened last week. Unfortunately, of course, we weren't going to be taking Corey Heim on a Tuesday.
No.
So nothing we can do about that. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go with McDowell.
That is a fantastic pick. I will go with Chase Elliott as my second.
Very good. Chase getting 35-1. Okay. Let's see. Second choice. I'm going to take Buescher. And now comes your long shot opportunity.
Yeah.
There's the long shot one last week. There were some good ones there.
Yeah, I was going to say he's too good to pass up at that number right now, being in a Toyota and with the 23XI that's just on a roll. So I'll go Bubba Wallace as my third.
Absolutely. And I will take Zane Smith. Okay, there you go. So, of course, I didn't take any Toyotas, but if I did go that route, then it would be, let's see, if I just went with the Toyotas, I would go, see, I just don't really feel comfortable with some of the ones in the front that we talked about, which is kind of problematic, but I don't know. Maybe if Briscoe has a good Saturday, maybe I look at that. But I mean, I think Wallace, he's got to be in there.
Yeah, and can't go Bell because of the injury.
No,
I think Briscoe is the one with the most potential, but we didn't see that last week when we expected it. So yeah, wait till Saturday.
Yeah, it's just yeah. So that's the thing. We'll see what happens on Saturday, because again, it doesn't really matter. It seems what kind of day you have on Saturday, because SVG is most likely going to end up on the pole, or somewhere close enough to the pole, like second, where he's still going to have all the money thrown at him, and then therefore the more money that's thrown at him, the other drivers just get pushed back with their odds, which is what we saw last week. I think Zilich went off at 10-1 after he was 6-1 on Tuesday, and he really didn't do a whole lot terribly wrong. It was just that's what's going to happen to the odds. So if you, in other words, unless you're looking at the Bubba Wallaces of the world, because if he has a good Saturday, then that could be cut in half. But if you're looking at some of the top contenders, I wouldn't worry too much. I don't think their odds are going to change all that. So I think it's not a bad week, except for the long shots. I'd go ahead and take them now to kind of wait and see how things happen. So next week, though, is Chicagoland. So that's good.
Should be exciting. It'll be a return. More unknowns because new cars never raced there. So looking forward to that one. Should be a good race. And then after that, we have Atlanta to look forward to, which has turned into a great track as well.
And we don't have any issues with rain at Sonoma, correct?
Should not. Yeah, it's dry season there. So hopefully nothing comes in. If it would, it'd be unexpected, I think. That's for sure.
Okay. So qualifying and practice will be 2 to 4 on Saturday, but the way it works out, it's looking like I'll probably see you guys somewhere about 8 or 9 o'clock on Saturday night again. We'll take a look at how everything goes for the speed charts during the day. Meanwhile, don't forget, link in the description of this video right now. You can check out CJ's page over at rotowire.com. You can bookmark that and then check out Friday when his own DFS report comes out from rotowire.com. If you want to wait until our show on Saturday when we talk qualifying and practice data, then you can go right to the description area and click the link. It'll go directly to CJ's page, which will have the report available that will already be about 24 hours long. So anything going on in F1?
Yeah, we got Austria this weekend, which should be interesting after Ferrari won back at Spain. The top 4 teams have all won at this track in the last 4 seasons. So it'll be interesting as the front of the pack continues to tighten up, see who's able to get ahead here in Austria, one of the shortest tracks on the circuit.
There's any reason at all to expect a long shot win this week?
Not unless there is some severe weather that disrupts everything going on. I wouldn't expect that. Again, typically the dry season, they do get rain from time to time, but this race has been relatively predictable. You've got to start in the front. It's a short lap, not many places to pass. So pretty much heavy emphasis on qualifying for Saturday.
Yeah, these odds here. I mean, Antonelli, Hamilton, and Russell.
Flip a coin.
How crazy.
Yep.
These are your 3 favorites. And then you've got, once again, even though Leclerc's in the middle, you've got the 3 behemoths, Verstappen, Norris, and Piastri. And it's just not time yet to go with these drivers.
No, still waiting for them to catch up. The field has been tightening, so things are getting closer. Obviously, Hamilton was able to win at Spain, but that took kind of some lucky circumstances, got the full course caution at the perfect time. Not to say that he couldn't have challenged for the win without that, but that definitely helped him get in there. But Mercedes still the one to beat. We still got a couple weeks here for things to tighten up, though the gap is closing. We've got 4 races until we have the summer break, which will be that month off. We do have upgrades coming to the cars each and every week, and we'll have more certainly after that. So still right now, basically flip a coin or wait until after qualifying on Saturday.
All right. Well, hopefully one of these weeks you'll start seeing some momentum. And we don't want it to be a big jump, of course. We just want a little bit of momentum. The odds stay similar to what we just looked at for the next. When's the next race?
Next race will be 2 weeks. Actually, 1 week. It's July 4th weekend, British Grand Prix.
Oh, okay. Is that next weekend? 4th of July weekend?
Is it next? It's, yeah. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Almost
all right.
Through summer, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll wrap it up. And that's it. No more road course races this year?
That is it. We're on the ovals all the way out after this one.
Yay. Even though, of course, we're going to get some really, we'll still got some silly races to go through, but at least there's no more.
Wilkesboro. Yeah, a couple of them out there.
Yeah.
So.
But it is what it is. And the other thing, too, is last week we totally forgot to give props. I mean, I gave the props myself on that Saturday show, but I forgot to give props on our show regarding the decision to start the race early.
Yeah.
Something we have never seen in the history of NASCAR.
So, with the fact that it was on Prime as well.
That's it. Yes, that was it. Because of the fact that Prime, you don't have a schedule.
Exactly.
There was no show that you worry about. But, you give them at least a little bit of props just because of the fact that they did it. But now if we see it happening again and they don't do it and it's on Fox, then we'll know why.
Yeah, so. It's about time. We've been calling for it for years. And we know that time of year, that track in particular, the Midwest, Pocono, Michigan, etc., Chicago, very heavily impacted by afternoon thunderstorms. And that's when NASCAR schedules all these races. So it's about time.
Unless they do a night race, and when they usually schedule a night race nowadays, it's on a Sunday night.
I was gonna say, but why would they do that and put it on a Saturday night? We've been asking for that too.
Yeah, they'll wait to do the Saturday night when it's college football season.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, we were supposed to give them props, and we still found a way to rip them. All right, so that's it. We'll see you guys again next Tuesday here to preview Chicagoland. I'll see everybody on Saturday night after practice and qualifying. Have a great